Now, this week marks National Child Protection Week in South Africa. The Department of Social Development launched the week-long campaign in Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape over the past weekend. Now, this year, the focus will be on teenage pregnancy, which is reported to have spiked during the COVID-19 pandemic. National Child Protection Week is observed in South Africa annually to raise awareness about the rights of children as articulated in the Children's Act of 2005. Isabella Sekawana is the Department of Social Development's Acting Deputy Director General responsible for welfare services, and she joins us now. Thanks so much for your time and welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you very much, Sakina, and good morning to the viewers and to you too.
Ms. Sekawana, with the focus being on teenage pregnancy this year, what are the actual statistics as we speak?
As we speak, Sakina, we have more than 34,000 teenagers who are pregnant, and we call them children because they range from an age of 10, to 19 years. And you can imagine a 10-year-old being pregnant. It just shows that we have a sick society, and therefore it is important that we really get into the root of the problem and work together jointly as different stakeholders to try and ensure and protect our children.
So 34,000 children across the country found themselves pregnant. And you speak of a sick society, which I think would be hard to argue against. But equally, one has to talk then about the inaptitude of government and law enforcement, given that children at some of these age categories cannot consent to sexual activity. So what is government doing to ensure that we actually tighten the screws and make sure that children are protected?
Sakina, thank you for the question. As government, we've got different initiatives that we have put in place to ensure that, we really deal with the behavior of the society. And, as you rightfully said, these children are impregnated by adults. And we want to know who is impregnating our children. And therefore, it is important that we really deal with the behavior instead of us only responding, to the outcome. So what we are doing as the Department of Social Development, working together with other government departments, we have put in place some different programs where, we involve children also at an early stage. And we've got a program that is called YOLO and CHOMI. And YOLO, it means you only live once. So this program targets children from 15 years upwards, 15 years to 24 years. And the CHOMI targets children from 10, to 14 years. And why are we doing this? We are saying that we need to ensure that we start our children at an early stage. We need to empower our children so that they can be able, to deal with challenges in life, but so that they can also be resilient. But also we want to inculcate behavior, those norms and values to our children. We need to deal with a boy child at an early stage so that they can be able, to respect a girl child and be able to know that how to handle a girl child. We've got also the Resiha program that basically targets, all the children who come from poor families. We know that poverty and malnutrition are the ones that are really hitting our children. And therefore, we want to deal with child nutrition. And therefore, it is important that we put programs such as Resiha. Resiha is a Tonga expression that means that resilient. That means resilience. And this program is aimed at ensuring that, the children are engaged in different activities, such as, we assist them in terms of doing their school assignments, but also what we are doing in the Resiha program. We educate them about sexual reproduction, social reproduction, and we also ensure that, there is meals that are provided to these children. So it is important that we strengthen these programs and we upscale them so that we ensure that, our children are safe. But most importantly, it is important that we also work as intercollaboratively, as you say, so that we improve on the child protection system together with other government departments.
Ms. Sekawana, the problem here is that we cannot be having these same conversations every year. We cannot be having the launch of Child Protection Week and regurgitating the same old promises and, hopeful messaging that we want to put out there without any action and, most importantly, consequences for those who actually abuse these children. I was looking at something 2 years ago. We did on this very program on Morning Live, we focused on the Ratlo municipality in the Northwest Province at Sitlagole village. And at the time, the outcry was massive because you had thousands of young girls pregnant in one village. What has happened there? Because everybody at the time was up in arms, social development, everybody was going to do something, and the police were called in. It was a multi-sectoral approach to try and address this matter. What was the outcome of that?
Yes, I think, the campaigns themselves have yielded a very good result because we are beginning to see these cases coming up. Because in the past, these things were happening, but they were not reported. So I can say that what we have achieved is us seeing children coming up, talking about these issues. However, I agree with you that we need to reflect and do things differently. We need to re-strategize. Hence, we are saying that we really need to go back to the basics. What we need to do now is to ensure that we look at the family as a structure, because this is where children are, and the family is the one that needs to protect our children. And it looks like really the family is not able to protect the children, because these children are being abused and are being raped and are being impregnated by some of the family members, but also by people who know them, in the community. So we are saying that, of course, the interventions that we've been implementing seem not to be working. However, we really need to go back to the basics. Where are the community structures in the community? We all know that in the past, we did not have orphans. The children belong to the community. So we need to go back to the basic and resuscitate, that values and the cultures that we had in the past. Firstly, we need to look at ensuring that the community owns children. Your child is my child is your child. We need to look at neighborhood watch. We used to, when we were growing up, some of us, we had those neighborhood watch, and we did not have the problems that we are having. But we also have, Sakina, leaders in the community that we really need to begin to use and to ensure that, they are part of protection of the children. We have faith-based organization because we know that each and every individual belongs to a religious organization. So we must begin to really try and utilize those community structures in the community to ensure that we really strengthen child protection. Going back to the basics, knowing that your child is my child, knowing that it takes a village to raise a child, knowing that, all of us, we have a responsibility to protect our children. Child protection is everybody's business.
So when a 10-year-old falls pregnant, who is held accountable? Because let's forget everything else, not because it's not important, but let's just try and focus. A 10-year-old is impregnated. Has anybody followed through to find out what happened, who is responsible? Has anybody been charged with statutory rape or otherwise? And have we found some sort of answers to conclude what happened to this 10-year-old who fell pregnant?
Okay. Let me go back to the context that I want to give. I said earlier, it takes a village to raise a child. I said earlier, children belongs to the families. It is the government cannot do anything if we don't get the cooperation of everybody. A parent herself. If the parent does not report a case, if the government does not know who has impregnated these children, it becomes very difficult, for government to deal with such issues. Hence, it is very important that we empower parents, we empower communities. Hence, when we started this child protection week in Lusikisiki and also in KZN, as we're going to close the child protection week, we started with the dialogues. And the dialogues, we targeted the children themselves so that they can be able to talk about these issues and tell us who is actually impregnating themselves. Of course, it's not going to be an individual issue to say who has done what, but we need to understand from the children's side what is the cause of this and who are these people who are impregnating them. And as we do that, we also work collaboratively with other government departments. We need to come up with an integrated plan of action that is informed about what came out of the conversation with the children. And I agree that we really need to work hard to improve on the child protection system. And as government departments, we are also undergoing the workshop so that we can be very clear in terms of, where the problem is and how are we going to deal with the situation that we find ourselves in. But I must say that this is everybody's business. These children are in the communities. We need to deal with that. We need to also improve on the structures. We've got programs that are called men's and boys championing change. And that's where the problem is. I talked about the sick society, and therefore it is important that we really try, to mold the behaviors, because we've got a society that is sick, the society that is hurt. Maybe a lot of people have been wounded from the past, and therefore we really need to deal with these issues and uproot, the cause of what is happening.
Ms. Sekawana, the law has gone beyond the platitudes of the child belongs to the community. The law is quite explicit in what needs to be done. If you say that the family is not reporting, these children are in families, etc., but the law is clear. Anybody, be it a teacher, be it a neighbor, be it anybody in society who would have noticed a 10-year-old being pregnant has a duty and a responsibility to report that. So if this child is going to school, have you followed up with the teachers about what was done? Have they reported it? Why haven't the police followed up if indeed it was reported? And if it wasn't reported, why did they not report it? And what I'm getting at here, Ms. Sekawana, is the fact that we talk a good game, but it is very clear that we are not even weak. We are failing miserably at implementing. So we can write all of these laws to protect children, and they will be meaningless until such time that we actually put them into practice. So at the launch, for example, your Deputy Minister for Social Development, Henrietta Bogopane Zulu, she said that it was adult men that are mainly responsible for teenage pregnancies. What is the department then actively doing to bring these perpetrators to book?
You are quite true, Sakina. It is our responsibility of government, but not government only. And government can only, as I said, be able, to put to bring the perpetrators to book if they know who has impregnated these children. Remember, even if they are attending school, the teachers will recognize that this child is pregnant. They will go to the Department of Health, for antenatal clinics. And we are the last point, where we have to communicate with these children. And if we don't know if we don't know who has impregnated these children, it is very difficult that we should deal with that. However, we have realized and identified a gap in terms of us ensuring that, we tighten up, the collaboration as different government departments. And as I'm speaking now, we have come up with an integrated plan, a generic one, so that we can be able, as different government departments, improve on our systems to ensure that we protect our children. The dialogues that we are talking about, where we really targeted the hotspots areas, we wanted to go to the areas so that we have a specific plan that is targeted towards the areas, with unique issues that are coming out of those particular areas, so that when we respond, we are very clear in terms of how we are responding. We have received, of course, the statistics from the Department of Health, and as social development, we have been looking into that, and we are trying our level best, to link the statistics into the names of the children, and so that we can be able, to to take action. But I want to emphasize that if the communities are not coming up, you are quite right. If the communities are not coming up, if the parents are not reporting these cases, it becomes very difficult for government to be able to deal with these issues. Hence, we are embarking on these campaigns to say that parents, let's not deal with this thing and say it's a family issue or it's a community issue. Let us come out very clearly and report these cases so that we can be able, government can be able to deal with the perpetrators of this act.
Isabella Sekawana, thanks so much for your time this morning. Ms. Sekawana is the Department of Social Development's Acting Deputy Director General responsible for welfare services. And this as we launch a Child Protection Week in South Africa. At 7 o'clock, let's bring you the latest news with Leanne.